And now I'd like to introduce a courageous young man, Pat Lambert, who will share his story about how APLA helped him get his life back. Thank you.
My name is Pat Lambert, and you are about to become a very large group of people to learn a big secret about me. I'm gay. Just kidding. I got that done my name is Pat Lambert, and I am HIV positive. I was diagnosed 1 year and 2 weeks ago, on April 15th, 2013. Today, I'm 36 copies from undetectable. I contracted the virus from a late-night fling one weekday in February of last year, and I was bedridden about 4 days later with the acute infection. I wouldn't be diagnosed for another few months. When I became sick, it really tore my life apart. My boss jokes that I'm the typical Gold Star student. I work in news and television, so as I got sick, I struggled desperately to keep myself afloat against 15-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. I remember the virus like something that was swimming in my skin. I painfully struggled to get out of bed each morning, burning hot or deathly cold. My eyes became so bloodshot I couldn't see. It was like walking around with the worst flu that was unrelenting. And no matter more or less sleep, it just fed the appetite. I would go to work early to sleep under the table until people would arrive, or I would hide under tables and around corners during the day to take 10-minute naps, because I couldn't make it till noon. I coughed through the night and threw up some mornings, and food felt like jagged pieces of glass on my tongue, or didn't have any taste at all. My mouth started to bleed, and shooting pain in my teeth had me holding back tears most of the day, so I scrambled one day to find a dentist. When I went to the dentist, she looked at my mouth and jumped back, scared by how much blood was pouring out. Finally, I asked my friend to carry me to my car and drive me to a doctor, who said I had the flu and gave me a Z-Pack and sent me back to work. It wasn't the flu. And as it intensified, so did a depression. What was going wrong with me, and why couldn't I keep up? I fought to smile through tears and would fall over or lose balance in meetings. My whole body seemed to be screaming for help, but I was too busy trying to keep up. So one day I left work early and crawled to the doors of a walk-in clinic, where a doctor carried me in and stayed open into the night to see me. My arms and legs were shades of purple, and my throat and eyes variants of red. He said I had to go to the hospital. It may be Kawasaki's disease, which is a rare disease I had as a child, or the meningitis outbreak, or mono and strep, but it was never HIV. I was sent to a rheumatologist who was also puzzled and admitted me to the ER. I was diagnosed 3 days later. My sister was visiting for spring break, so we celebrated by playing cards in the infectious disease board, and joked about the idea of what if. The announcement was unceremonious at best, at 9 a.m. on Monday morning, April 15th of last year. My sister waved in the hallway as the doctor closed the door, looked down and said, "Well, we've got some results back, and you're HIV positive." I asked him how sure he was, and he said 99%. Every sick joke that I had made at my own expense, every late weekend escapade where I flirted the line and won by chance over charm, it all hit me, and I was so disappointed in myself. I asked for a moment alone and walked to the bathroom and looked in the mirror and thought, this is the last moment you have alone with this secret. What do you want to do about it? My sister Caitlin came back in, and it only took her a look at my desperate eyes to reduce me to a puddle. I poured out with a sense of shame and terror, apologizing for what I had done to her. I had called my mom the night before and left her a message. I said, I think that something really is wrong. And I'm sorry to tell you, Mom, but I'm scared. So I left the room to make a plan. And I told my sister, I have to do something with this. If this disease chose anyone, let it choose me. We can grow roses out of cement, so bring it on, Sharon Stone. I returned to see my sister on the phone with my mom, who was waiting on the tarmac in Boston to take off for Los Angeles. She heard the news, then took that flight alone, holding back tears with strangers, picking up pieces of this bombshell. And then the bombs really did go off. It was in Boston on Marathon Monday. Boston is my city. It's the second place I call home. I went to school there, and as the bombs went off in both places, my family and I struggled to pick up the pieces and find answers. I had strep, lacked vitamins, and my T cells were 300, and my viral load was over 10 million copies, which a doctor remarked was the largest he'd ever seen. Another doctor told me not to worry. People with this disease can live a normal life, and I have maybe 30 to 35 years more. I'm 23 years old. I started on a heavy dose of drugs the next day. Persisto, Truvada, Noroviricel, Entry, and Icentrus. Another nurse said I could find a support group online somewhere, but she wasn't really sure where. That was the information I left the hospital with. That and a few hugs from doctors, conflicting reports of what to do next and when, and a handout that listed some resources online. I had seen 8 doctors and 4 nurses since the whole thing started, and no 2 people had the same answer for some of the first questions we had. So we searched online. You need to be fresh off binging Grey's Anatomy to really keep up with Wikipedia, so we did find one place. The AIDS Project Los Angeles was one place where we could go for help and to ask questions in person. And they were holding a support group meeting the next night. So like a kid at his first day of school, my mom and my sister brought me to the APLA support group. And we met Brian. And everything became okay. Brian is a treatment educator at APLA. I later learned that after my mother flew home, she called Brian and asked him to make a promise to take care of her son. So Brian, thank you for taking care of him. You and Mark and Michael and all of you have been more than a resource, but mentors and friends. You and your team at APLA have cared for me, have sought answers for my questions, and have been there when I panicked, when potential boyfriends called scared the next day. APLA has made this biology class of life much more approachable. They've set me up with free dental services, referred me to therapists, and introduced me to other activists so I could pick up the slack. Brian, you've helped me see new value in relationships, honesty, and integrity. I was never angry at the person who I contracted this disease from, but with your help, I was able to reach out and be a resource for them. I walked into that bedroom as much as they did, and now it's only right to help me to that. I'm a proud member of this community. It is hard to deal with a sense of shame and embarrassment latent with this disease. And even more my generation of the disease. Young, gay, 20-somethings who represent a rise in infection. Compounded by the grinder revolution and the Generation Y naivete of egocentrism. I'm not the AIDS generation of the 80s or the 90s, when cities were in chaos and AIDS was a real whisper. I'm the generation that hears everything but listens to very little. I feel a sense of duty to fight this disease for my mother's shame and my family's pain, and for the hope that the viral divide that splinters the gay community doesn't need to banish our positive brothers and sisters to some island of misfit toys and twinks, where disease and drug-free and neg for neg aren't the embraced vernacular, where our statuses aren't our secrets, our sexual worth isn't a negotiable commodity, and where our love isn't a game of kiss and don't tell. I don't want to look at the map of my world and cross up places I can't go. Lives I can't live, dreams I can't have, and men I can't marry. My mom fears that I'll be less employable, and that healthcare reform can be a broken system. She fears I'll endure more prejudice, that'll be a stereotype, and that'll be a constant example of a really stupid, smart kid. But mostly that I'll be alone. I have those same fears, and I have those same nightmares. But I also have this: a city and a community that supports me, that fights for me and my positive brothers and sisters. I am deeply honored to be a part of this community, and hopefully to be a resource for others to come, as an advocate, an activist, and as an extension of APLA's great work. Ryan was there for me and my family when bombs went off in our lives, and I am so thankful that APLA will continue to be there for me. APLA gave me the support systems I needed to operate intelligently in this new secret society, with care and compassion for myself and for others, and the power to not have to live in secret forever. Thank you for your time, your support, and your attention. And thank you, APLA, for sharing this day and many more.
I just have to say, before I really start, you mentioned your mother's shame. There's no shame. No mother could be prouder of a son than your mother must be of you. Thank you.